The last guest I had on was Travis Overton, the CEO of CDL Life, and we were talking about how one of the things that what we're talking about causes is when a driver comes on board, the first month, let's say, or maybe 3 months of their employment with you, it's constantly testing the company in every way they can. And that means that any small thing that might go wrong can sometimes become basically, well, see, this is proof that they're just like any other carrier.
That's
You
it.
know?
We're going back to dating since we brought
Yeah.
up dating
Yeah.
earlier. It's very much like that. It's,
Yeah.
you look at the Tinder or the Bumble effect of dating or internet dating.
Mhm.
It's that when you know that you're one swipe away from another partner, then you're less likely to invest the time and energy. So if something goes wrong, if you're online and someone says something that offends you, or you go on a date and it wasn't fantastic the first date, what immediately happens is they go out and they're swiping again. It's very much like that in a scenario where the onus is in this case, the onus is on the company to make sure that the driver's onboarding process is smooth and that they are finding ways to really encourage them to stick around and retain them. And I think that would do yourself a big favor.
I see, and it's pretty easy to see the the challenges that this brings to a carrier, right? And sort of the benefits that this brings to a driver, because it's a driver's market essentially, because we can look at the recruitment processes of sales process, right? Do you see any challenges that this actually might cause the drivers in the long run or the short run?
I think drivers have the leverage. I mean, drivers are they're beautiful in the world of, they have all the leverage because a company's entire profitability is based on how many miles they put on that truck. Utilization is the most important factor in profitability of a trucking company. And a truck that's sitting against a fence is the most expensive truck that's on that fleet. And therefore, the driver knows that. They have all of the leverage in that relationship. And so does it change the nature of the market? It makes them much more, it makes it much harder for carriers to retain the drivers. It makes them, basically, they have all the responsibility of ensuring that driver is satisfied at all times. I don't think it changes necessarily for the worse for the drivers. It makes them more cynical. It makes it harder for them to discern who's a high quality carrier and who's not. But I don't think it makes it worse. I think, frankly, drivers have a lot of leverage. I mean, you think about 40 years ago, trucking was a largely unionized industry before deregulation. When deregulation happened, the non-union carriers were very successful versus the union carriers were not. But one of the reasons that unions have never really gotten success in the over-the-road trucking market is that drivers have all the leverage. If the quality of life isn't good, then they can go to another carrier. If they don't like the pay, they can go to another carrier. If the trucks are not clean or well maintained, they can go to another carrier. I think that's actually a positive development for the industry because it forces employers to make those types of investments, which makes the driver's life hopefully better. And they always are having to keep up.
That's true. And yeah, I mean, I don't know about but most carriers, they're forced to maintain their equipment better, to run safer, to be fair when they're paying.
There's a big gap between companies that don't do that and companies that do. And there's a pretty big delta. But oftentimes the larger carriers are having to make those investments because they have a lot more trucks to see.